Absolutely, and another great question because, quite honestly, the amount of oversight that we have when you think about it is quite significant. For some in the community, it will never be enough because of the enormous responsibilities and powers that police wield on a daily basis. And it's really interesting to always reflect on the fact that a constable, the moment they're sworn in to this the organisation to which I belong, the moment they're sworn in, they have the same powers that I do to take someone's liberty away. Exactly the same. It's called the Office of Constable, and it's independent. I can't tell anyone to arrest someone. In fact, it's quite unlawful to do that. It's the individual's decision to use that power. So you can see some of the challenges we have in the training sphere, but to some degree, I think we do that okay. To answer your question, the media plays an important role, in my humble opinion, around ensuring we do the right thing. And what I love about our organisation is there's plenty of people inside the organisation who have the ticker that if they feel like something's happening and it's not getting out there into the real world, out into the public, that it should be out there because it's something that they feel is terribly wrong, they'll tell the media. Sometimes we call it leaks. Sometimes people will look at it in terms of whistleblower type arrangements. And I have no problem with that when it's done with the best of intent, with the truest of intent. I have a problem when it's done for other intentions, but that's another story. So we have the media. Then we have the CCC in the state, and quite honestly, I think that's one of the finest frameworks for institutional oversight that you could ever have. I think the CCC in its latest guise, I mean, they started off as the CJC after Fitzgerald, but I would hope there will never be a time there isn't an oversight body like them, with people of integrity who will stand firm and they will look into complaints where they feel that either the police haven't done a good enough job of looking into it, or people go direct to them in terms of those sorts of things. And then I think there is the public opinion thing. I said before that I went to a small country town once and I worked there for almost 6 years. And there's a lady in the audience, and I won't pick her out, but she was a young girl in that town at the time. Our families knew each other very well. And what I found was that my family had a great time in that town. And most of the other police were treated with respect as well, because we worked very, very hard to provide that respect and good work to the community. If I'd done something wrong, I guarantee you that I would get that feedback from the community, and my family would get the feedback from the community. We never had a problem. And I think, having those principles, those base principles I talked about before, it's like being a good referee. You don't always get it right, but if you're fair and honest about it, people will respect that. So I do agree that there must be oversight of some sort. I do agree that there are times where investigating police is not necessarily the best option. But my question then becomes, even with the CCC at times, where how many times do you step away till you're truly independent, particularly with the types of investigations that need to be done? So it's something that I don't think will be resolved for some people ever, but I can say that we're probably, I forgot the most important one the two most important oversights that exist for us. One is the law and our judicial system, which protects the citizens, and the other is the Parliament, all of which can question what we do, in any situation. So we're fairly well governed in that respect, and we're fairly well in terms of the oversight that exists in so many different layers. But will we ever get it right to everyone's satisfaction? Probably not.
And really interesting too about it's reasonably simple to have an oversight committee about something like infrastructure that floats on top of that sea of ethics, the governance and the law arrangements. But when you're sort of dealing seminally with right and wrong, which is obviously the pursuit of sort of ethical knowledge, how do you actually get that right when there's right and wrong in every single choice you probably make? So that's the thing. When we talk about ethics, sometimes we get a little bit tripped up by a transactional expectation of what we as organisations are going to get from having an ethical framework. But it is really that underpinning deep knowledge that aligns the organisation, develops those sort of values, helps an organisation understand what is right and wrong when they're making these really complex value-based choices. I'm not entirely sure that you're ever going to get to a clear oversight of an ethical underpinning in an organisation. And right. National institutions, and the national institutions that we've currently got sort of set up within our national sort of framework at the moment, whether or not the community perceives they are independent, that they are adequate, that they are approaching things objectively and reasonably.
And I was about to say, this goes right back to where I started from today, and I started talking about myself, and I talked about trust. If the community don't have trust in me as the Commissioner of Police, we're lost as an organisation, and I agree with you 100%. And so I have to work hard every single day to build that trust, and it gets very, very interesting at times. And social media is one of the things that I use to try and build that trust, because people can come direct to me. No one touches my Twitter page except me. And I work very, very hard to answer most people. Some get very, very pointed at times and long and drawn out and very repetitive. In fact, I think there must be a new job description called Twitter person, because boy, oh boy, I get some really, really interesting people coming on my Twitter site. But I try hard to answer them, and I always do it respectfully, always, because that's what is at that hallmark. That's one of the standards.
Can I just quickly add just one thing to that? Just because that's the point you raised is a really good question, and I think the challenge is, how do you set up independence governance structures that are going to pick up on things early, not wait until there's some catastrophe? And the example I would point to would be Cricket Australia. So we've had a massive catastrophe in Cricket Australia, and what's come out of it is, we knew there was ball tampering going on for years. Sheffield Shield, everybody knew, nobody did anything about it. Why? And that's where I think the responsibility lies a lot with the organisation, but obviously some with the players, but a lot with the organisation, the structures that they've had in place. That's the challenge, is to pick it up early.